Good day, everyone, and welcome to week one, lesson two. In the previous micro lecture, we touched on an introduction to technology within the supply chain. In this micro lecture, we'll be exploring more of the technology applications in the supply chain. The same learning outcomes apply. In addition, we have the following. We will look at the impact of 3D printing, we'll examine the Internet of Things, and we'll explain how big data has become so important that companies have to leverage it for a competitive advantage. When it comes to technology, the supply chain itself is not immune to the rate of diffusion and the velocity of diffusion of technology. Technology these days has become a standard. We have minimum standards that customers are willing to accept. We have certain thresholds. And of course, data management and synchronization are crucial. One of the earliest standards in technology was the barcode. The barcode became the global standard in terms of inventory control. And of course, this has started to extend further as we get more technology applications like RFID, which we discussed in lesson one. GS1 is a global standards organization that manages the standards for barcodes and RFID tags. Since RFID became popular, GS1 developed the EPC Global Standards, so Electronic Product Code Standards, that will apply to RFID as well. It allows for a more standardized approach when it comes to the implementation of these technologies within the supply chain itself. As more and more people embrace the internet, as companies start to embrace technology and leverage technology as it permeates every part of the supply chain, we will find that big data and the Internet of Things become incredibly closely linked. And for supply chains, it's about leveraging these technologies to take advantage of things like flexibility, agility, and a quick response. For example, Harley-Davidson's Industry 4.0 enabled factory allows it to build over 1,000 bike variations on one production line. They can basically make and ship an individualized bike every 90 seconds. They've brought down their costs, they've increased their profit margins, and they've done this all by leveraging on big data, being able to allow customers to customize the products that they want in the way that they want. So automation itself obviously comes with many benefits, being it cost and error reduction as well as improved cycle times. I mean, think about it. We have robots picking goods in a warehouse. Other aspects of automation include things like automated terminal handling facilities, self-driving vehicles, condition monitoring and self-regulation of freight in transit. Augmented reality has become a major part of automation within logistics itself. There are, of course, implications when it comes to manufacturing. In a digitally networked economy, you find that boundaries disappear. It's also why a little cough in one part of the world has such a profound impact on other markets. It's because we are very closely linked. So, various technologies mean that it's possible for us to connect an entire supply chain, even though you may have geographic dispersion. It's important for us to embrace these types of technologies because you can encourage visibility. And it has to be said that technology itself and its applications forms a strategic imperative for supply chain managers. You have to embrace it because unfortunately at the rate of diffusion, if you don't embrace these technologies, you will unfortunately get left behind. We're seeing things like sales forecasting shifting to demand sensing, to more circular economies. We're not just focused on product and profit because customers are becoming more self-aware. We're looking at big data and linear supply chains becoming an ecosystem. We're looking at adaptive analysis. We're looking at predictive analysis. We're trying to leverage that data and not just look at it as once off. We're trying to almost bleed the data and get as much information and insight from it as we can. There's a shift from mass production, cost reductions, and sales to mass customization, service delivery, and an enhancement of revenue. So we're seeing the customer as the focal point in the supply chain, and not just the end of the supply chain itself. These coming changes mean that we've got to embrace new ways of doing business. The old ways might not necessarily carry companies into the future. If anything, the COVID-19 pandemic taught us that. It taught us that you had to adapt in order to survive. Some of the new enhancements in technology have been things like additive manufacturing or 3D and 4D printing, where you can produce a component one atom or one molecule at a time. It has become quite popular. It's something that most of us are familiar with, and many manufacturers have started to do that. In addition, they've also started to embrace cloud-based manufacturing, and I've provided an article for you on this, looking at cloud-based manufacturing and sustainability. Cloud-based manufacturing allows you to move towards a more circular economy, in the sense that you're looking at an approach to manufacturing that is more sensitive to environmental requirements. You're looking at manufacturing from a sustainability perspective. Cloud-based manufacturing has a number of different definitions and terms. We can also call it agile or intelligent manufacturing, but it's the ability for us to configure a system online, input the requirements from customers, and have robots and automation design and finalize that particular product. One example that I'll give you is the automotive industry, where they're using cloud-based components and applications through the Internet of Things. For example, uh, VW, which is the world's second largest car manufacturer, uses the open source cloud computing platform to build a private cloud hosting websites for brands like Porsche, Audi, VW. They're leveraging these technologies for a digital future. They're leveraging these technologies so customers can customize their products in a way in which adds value for them. So, with this lesson, the aim was for us to unpack some of the technology applications. Please view the YouTube videos that I've provided and read the articles, as these will also help to enhance your understanding of technology applications in the supply chain. Thank you very much, and I will see you in the next micro lecture.